Now, we all know that cracking the property market is a lot more challenging these days, especially if you want to buy in capital cities. Finance is tight and there are no signs of the banks loosening their policies anytime soon. It's even harder if you're a developer. The banks want higher deposits and the pool of buyers is drying up fast. So what are your options if you want to buy your home or develop your property? Todd Polke, wealth and property coach and our guest host today, joins us to explain a new way to own your home using blockchain technology. Todd, this is such a curly one. I feel like I'm going to struggle to wrap my brain around it.
I'll do what I can, yeah.
So take the concept back to basics and explain what we're trying to do here.
Absolutely, and yeah, I totally agree. When everyone starts talking about crypto or blockchain stuff, most people's brains start exploding everywhere. That's usually what
you could win any argument by just going crypto, and no one knows what you're talking about.
No one knows what's going on, and so because it's such a new technology, and that's one of the things I love about it. You know, we've kind of got the most fundamental of wealth creation vehicles being property investing, and then we've got the newest technology. And personally, I think it's an absolute, match made in heaven along the way. And so, really, and I want to frame something here is that, a lot of people want to know everything about the blockchain or think they need to know everything. But I always like to use the whole metaphor that if you walk into a room and you turn a light switch on, you don't necessarily need to know how it actually turns on. You just need to know that. You just want to know that it actually happens. So at the very base level, I like to take it back to the internet, right? So the internet, when it was introduced, changed the way we lived life on a bigger basis than almost anything. And the blockchain technology has the opportunity to do that at an even bigger level. So where the internet was about the exchange of information and the transfer of information, the blockchain is actually about the transfer of ownership. And so what that means for real estate is that it's able to, real estate ownership is able to be transferred, or parts of real estate or parts of any asset able to be transferred, very importantly in a trustless way. So what that means is that we as owners, we actually don't need to trust another person for the transaction to go through, or if it's actually going to happen the way we want it to, because the blockchain technology itself actually handles that for us. Now, from a property standpoint, that really means that transactions are going to speed up. It means there's going to be greater liquidity in the property. It means it's going to be more accessible to everyday people. It means it's going to be cheaper along the way as well. And it's really going to mean that the opportunity for everyday people to get into the market is going to be increased at a great level.
Okay, can you give me like sort of an everyday example of how that might work? What's a typical case study, and what sort of is their starting point?
Yeah, sure. A typical case study using blockchain for real estate kind of doesn't exist too much at the moment, but let me give you a bit of an example of how that might work. So, for example, what we're seeing in the market now, in the trends in real estate, is that it's getting harder and harder for everyday people to be able to get into the marketplace. It's getting harder and harder. And one of the reasons is that people have to raise these massive deposits. They have to, jump through a million hoops to be able to get finance along the way. And it's just getting really tough, as we know. And so what the blockchain technology gives the opportunity to be able to do is that you can actually buy a piece of a real estate, not an entire house. It might just be a portion of a house, because it actually breaks down the ownership into smaller parts. It gives the opportunity to do that. So then someone wanting to get into the marketplace where they don't have $100,000 to get their first deal, or they can't get the serviceability, they have the opportunity to invest in real estate even at with $100. And that just democratizes real estate at a huge level.
So, but who do you do it through, and how do you make that happen?
Yeah, so one of the things, one big project that I'm working on is something called Konkrete, and it's spelled Konkrete, which is
because we love a tricky spelling.
Yeah, I know, we love that. Konkrete.io. And so what this company is doing, and I'm advising with this company, and what they're focusing on doing is setting up a number of different ways that everyday people can go and invest in real estate as little as $100, but it's also giving opportunities for developers to literally bypass the banks completely, and for all their developments to actually be funded by you and me, for example, by everyday people. And so it's giving the power back to the people in the marketplace. And so this platform, Konkrete, is actually setting it up so people can actually put their real estate on the blockchain itself, and then a pool of investors have the opportunity to go actually invest in that as little as $100.
So it makes it sound like you could be investing in anything, but you choose very specifically which properties you want to go into.
Yeah. So there are other property funds out there, right? But one of the challenges with that is that the properties are always chosen by one or two people, for example, right? And you don't really have a choice of what you want to go into. How this is being set up is that it's actually being voted by the community. So if there's a group of 100 investors involved in concrete, for example, or 1,000 or millions where it's going to, people can actually put their property up for, I'm going to say an auction, not quite, a voting, and then everyday people can actually go, yes, I want to go and invest in that one. It's only the best projects are ever going to get to the platform itself.
Isn't this something where you need a huge take-up rate to make it happen? Because you're saying people can come in at this low sort of price point, but then you're also talking about owning a piece of a big development.
Sure.
Are you going to get the numbers on board quickly enough to sort of support these projects going ahead?
Yeah, and so that's always part of the process of building the community behind it. And, you know, there is enough demand, particularly not only in the blockchain world and the crypto world, but also for people wanting to access real estate at a cheaper level and to be able to get involved, that they can actually, that they're really building a really strong community behind it. And so, yes, it takes time to get it to the level it needs to be, but I've got to be honest, it's growing rapidly, and with where the blockchain technology is growing, in the next kind of 5 to 10 years, it's going to change the way we live life more than pretty well everything that we actually know.
So if you're sitting at home and you want to sort of further investigate this opportunity, I mean, you've mentioned Konkrete. Are there other places to look as well? Yeah,
I mean, there are various different platforms like this that are popping up around the world. What I know is that this is the first Australian-based one, which is really focusing on working with Australians to make property more affordable, democratise real estate in Australia, and also to be able to help developers to actually be able to fund their projects and bring them out of the ground at a much cheaper level than having to jump through 1,000 different hoops in the market. And look, with councils and banks and things like that. And I know for a lot of people listening that it can feel like it's something so new that it, you know, as I said, I'm careful trying not to pop people's brains. But it's something that people really need to stick their nose into, that's for sure, because it is the way of the future. It's where things are actually moving. And the Konkrete.io is the web address where people can check it out. This is one of the platforms which are really leading the way in Australia.
And you're quite convinced this is definitely the way of the future?
I'm 1,000%. I'm a total crypto nerd. Besides being a property nutter, I'm an absolute crypto nerd. And so where I see this blockchain technology going, people really need to look at this because it will disrupt a lot of industries in a big way.
Oh, we all know what disruption feels like. Right, we're just going to take a quick break now, but when we come back, travel commentator Nikolina Krevska takes us to the best glamping sites around the country.